Welcome to the Pet Loss Journals podcast. I am your host, Louise. This podcast is all about the reality and impact pet loss has on our lives, and I will be discussing my personal journey through pet loss. So if you are struggling on your own pet loss journey, then this is the podcast for you. Hello, welcome to episode 36 this week. This week is going to be a start of a new year when it comes to reading my journal entries. So we're going to be starting off in 2022 and I'll be reading today's journal entry from there. Before I start, I'd just love to say a massive thank you to all of you who reach out to me either on email or social media, on Instagram or wherever you find me, and have so many kind words to say and give me feedback and let me know how these episodes have helped you, have provided comfort. I can't express how much that means to me, and hearing that feedback and reading your lovely messages is like one of the main reasons that I keep going with this and keep on recording and releasing episodes. And although it is only episode 36, I definitely feel that all of you have come on this journey with me, and it was really scary to disclose a lot of my inner thoughts and secrets and all of the vulnerabilities and parts of me that many people don't even know about. But I feel like it is so worth it, and I feel that just the positive vibes that have come from it are incredible. So this is just a little shout out to you, the listeners that listen and message me. Thank you so much, and I will keep going with these episodes for as long as I possibly can. That being said, I'm going to get going and start reading my journal entry for this week. This week's journal entry is from the 15th of January 2022. I just got home from a 2-hour acupuncture appointment. I feel super chill and relaxed lying here on the bed. My acupuncturist said that the tight muscles in my neck might have been the cause of the vertigo attacks and possibly stress. I know myself that I'm not managing my stress levels very well, so I will just have to prioritise me time, in inverted commas. During the appointment, I was able to empty my mind somewhat. The only thoughts that kept coming in were of the dogs. I imagined Bob under my left hand and Moose under my right hand. I could feel myself lightly rubbing Bob's soft fluff part of his velvet ears and lightly stroking him with my finger down between his eyes to his nose. He loved that and found it relaxing. Moose just wanted to be near me. She never often looked to be touched. She felt comfort just being beside me. A few flashbacks of their deaths and burial came in and out of my mind, which brought a few tears, but that's okay. I tried to interrupt those times with joy that I experienced with them. I do need to do some more healing. I'm not quite there yet. There's no rush for healing, no rush to start the business. Just go easy on myself, and all will fall into place when it should, as it should. I still have some learning to do. You work full-time, Louise. Change takes time. My acupuncturist said when I feel overwhelmed and stressed, just to have compassion for myself and say I am aware of what my path is, and things are changing slowly at a pace that's comfortable for me. All will be well. I need to stop with all this pressure. All the pressure I put on myself, one thing at a time. There is no deadline. The universe and the angels will guide me in the right directions. Trust your intuition, always. Love you, Oz and Moose. That's my journal entry for this week. This one is particularly, I feel excited to delve into it a little bit more with you all. And some of you might have noticed during the journal entry that I mentioned something that you might not have heard before. And I'll just read it again. I imagined Bob under my left hand. So Bob was a nickname or a pet name for Ozzy. And no, I know it does not sound very similar, but he used to answer to Bob. He used to come running. So he had a lot of nicknames, and I know many of you listening would resonate with this. Be that your cat, your dog, whatever animal, whatever pet was part of your life. You may have had so many nicknames, and isn't it amazing how did they really understand the nicknames, or did they just know, well, if she says the word Bob, I get something nice or something happens that I like, and so they come running. So I mean, animals are just so intelligent. I just think it's amazing. So I can't recall if I've ever mentioned that before on the podcast. Now, I might have, but I don't remember doing that. But that is definitely something that's really personal to me that I haven't told anybody really. Only just maybe a couple of close friends that might have known that or seen it happen in real time. But it's really special, I think, and I can be sure that some of you can resonate with that. But what's important to mention here is that in January 2022, I was extremely unwell. So I was attending my acupuncturist like weekly. I just had really bad vertigo attacks, and some of you might not know what vertigo is, but basically it had turned out that it was a really extreme form of a migraine, vestibular migraine to be scientifically technical about it, but and what that involved for me was I may get these vertigo attacks which may last something between 2 to 10 days, and they're extremely debilitating. The room is spinning basically in my head. I can't walk in a straight line. I can't drive. I can't work. I can't eat. There's constant nausea because of the spinning. So, I needed a lot of help to actually even get dressed, move around. Just spent a good lot of time in bed recovering from these attacks. And I was experiencing one attack after another in that month, and I can still remember it, and it was just horrendous. It was awful, and I kept saying to myself, I feel like I'm a healthy person. I get out walking every day. I eat as well as I can. I do a bit of juicing. I try my best. Why is this happening to me? And eventually, I have linked it to stress and grief and loss, emotional, like the hard emotional stuff that I was going through. I linked it to that. As the attacks went on, I was able to kind of keep a log or a journal, and kind of document my symptoms, what was happening before, what was happening in my life around the time, and things like that. And anybody that is experiencing migraines or headaches or digestive issues or anything like that while they're grieving, I do highly recommend to just keep a little log, keep a little journal about it, and that can really help to focus in on what exactly is happening externally in my life right now, and just to assess that basically is what's important with that. But so acupuncture was just something that I had tried, that I had received a lot of benefits from, so I continued with that. So I mean, coming from this journal entry, I can remember, it kind of puts me back there, and I can remember being so unwell. But having those kind of visualizations of the dogs during the acupuncture session was something that didn't happen to me very often, but when it did happen, it was really emotional. And luckily I was face down on one of those kind of massage beds, so the tears were not seen, but even if they were, they would have been accepted because it was a safe place. But that being said, I just love the way that I described what I was visually kind of imagining, and it was really comforting to do that. And the fact that Moose just wanted to be near me, she never often looked to be touched. She felt comfort being beside me, and that was definitely Moose. You know, she was quite like an independent little girl, and she just, the odd time she'd surprise you and want to come over for a rub, but I never forced touch upon her because, you know, of her past, and she had been through some abuse in the past, and it was just lovely that she always just liked to be near me, like in my presence, and that was lovely. And just also with Ozzy, he had such a nice little fluffy patches just on the tops of his ears, and I can even remember to this day, and he loved being stroked like from the nose through the middle of the eyes up to the top of the head. He loved that. And he was so it just felt like velvet. So I'm imagining it now, and it's bringing me a lot of comfort. That may be helpful for you if you remember doing something with your pet, your cat, your dog, whatever pet that may be, and you knew that it brought them such joy and comfort, or a certain way that they like to be stroked or cuddled or whatever that may be. And just being present and sitting with yourself and visualizing that happening, even though they're gone, but visualizing that, it can bring comfort, it can bring emotion, it can help to release the grief that you may have been suppressing, be that during the workday or something like that. It's just sitting in silence, closing your eyes and visualizing that moment with your pet, or something that you love to do together, just the two of you, and it can just help to create that like spiritual connection with your pet. And I always say that although the physical aspect of the relationship with your pet has ended, the emotional, the spiritual one has not ended. And this is how we can, one of the ways that we can like let that live on and help us to stay connected to our pets, if that makes sense. I try to interrupt those feelings with times of joy. Now, that's probably something that I was learning in cognitive behaviour therapy, that it's not that I was pushing the feelings away, but it was like I wanted to interrupt those feelings and maybe go back to that moment of when I was stroking his little velvet ears, because the flashbacks, the PTSD flashbacks would creep in then and go bang, like right into the forefront of my memory. But I wanted to interrupt those and go back to what I was doing before that memory crashed to the forefront of my mind and just go back and say, no, I'm just going to go back now to what I was doing. So I was lightly rubbing Ozzy's ears or whatever that may be. I found that was helpful in that situation in the middle of an appointment with an acupuncturist. So it's obvious that in January 2022, I'm still verbalising that I still have a lot of healing to do, and I hope that that isn't, uncomfortable for you to hear, because at the beginning of this podcast, it was the first journal entry was in October 2019, and we're at January 22, and I don't want you to be listening now and thinking, oh my God, like I'm never going to feel myself again. I'm never going to feel better. I'm never going to heal from this grief. And that is totally, totally wrong. Everybody's journey is different. The difference is with me is that I did a lot of suppressing, which you have heard over and over again. And I did not start to grieve properly. I didn't let myself. It was really, really painful for me, so I didn't want to go there a lot of the time. And then, of course, when I got into a new relationship, I mean, if you've ever been in that position, it kind of takes over. And I was saying to myself, there's no room to grieve. I'm so happy. I'm going to put all of my energy into this new relationship. And that's what happened. And that's life. We're human. I mean, I really do feel that I was cognitively aware of what I was doing, that I was in the honeymoon period and I was loved up, and this was what my life was about now, and there was no time for grieving and really sitting with my feelings. And even though I was still experiencing panic attacks and flashbacks and PTSD, I kind of feel that was my grief screaming at me to be felt. So I think that it's valid to acknowledge that sometimes if we get a new job or change countries, get a new career, get into new relationships, like new friendships, whatever that may be, and we sideline our grief, no matter what loss event that we're going through, we can hear the grief screaming from other avenues, from other paths, basically. Mine were the panic attack path and the PTSD, the flashbacks, these kinds of things that I've mentioned before, the anxiety and so on. And I think that although I was very upset and was able to talk about the dogs with people I felt safe with, I still knew that there was so much more processing that I had to do regarding the way they both died and so on. So I wasn't really being completely honest with myself, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, subconsciously, whatever it may be, I knew what I was doing was kind of pushing this down and not giving it the space that it needed so much. Like, I'm just laughing actually when I was reading this. I'm just laughing because I feel like you as listeners are going to be like, there's a running theme to all of her episodes, and it's often like, I need to stop with all this pressure I put on myself. And I mean, how many times have you literally heard me say that in my journal entries? Countless times. And I think if you're anyway similar to me, like trying to put pressure on yourself every single day, I put pressure on myself if I'm trying to sit down and relax. I should be doing something. I have this to do. I have that to do. Oh, I haven't done the cleaning and I'm behind on this, and I'm really, really trying to practice now just being and sitting after work is done and after sessions are done and business stuff is done, all of this stuff. And it can be really difficult. I don't know if you resonate with that, but I definitely feel like I don't put as much pressure on myself as I used to, especially back when all of these journal entries were written. But there's still going to be an element of it in my life, and it's still going to linger. You can't ever get rid of something, but you can kind of vow or commit to yourself that you're going to work on it, on that particular aspect, because I was always in a panic to get stuff done, and rest came kind of at the bottom of my list, and self-care and that kind of thing. So that is something to kind of look at. What my acupuncturist said to me was, and what an incredible person that she is, but when I feel overwhelmed and stressed, I just have to have compassion for myself and say I am aware of what my path is, and things are changing slowly at a pace that's comfortable for me, and all will be well. And isn't that so powerful in itself? There's a lot of, I don't want to be like talking about the universe is this and that, and the law of attraction and any of that kind of stuff, which is perfectly, like, I believe in the universe kind of guiding me, or basically what I believe mostly is in my intuition, because I've evidence of that in my life. So following my intuition or my gut feeling, and some people might call it your gut instinct or whatever. There's so many names for it, but I know for sure that that's what I believe in. Now, whether it's the universe guiding me or whatever else, but I know that I can always trust my intuition and my gut, because I've had experience of this, evidence of this, that I get a feeling, I go with my intuition, I make a decision upon that feeling, and the decision ends up being the correct decision for me in my life at the time. And sometimes those decisions were painful, like with regards a breakup or a change in job or whatever that may be. But I was aware that outside of that pain, that it was the best decision for my life, and that I could then grow in a way that I've always wanted to, and go in a direction that I wanted to go, that feels right for me, where I don't feel stuck, if that makes sense. It's lovely to kind of read the beginning of 2022 on this journal entry, and it's lovely to be able to share that with you. And if you're experiencing any kind of illnesses or responses, physical responses to the loss or grief that you're going through right now, I want you to know that it's normal, but also it can be exacerbated with like pushing it down, the grief, and suppressing it. So like often when I opened up about how I was feeling, or did a therapy session, or whatever that may have been, like there was an ease in my physical responses or symptoms, and that was visibly noticeable for me. So I'm talking and releasing emotion and crying and expressing everything helps us to physically feel better, to release that. And that may look different for everybody. It may be digestive issues, it may be migraines, it may be stomach upset, it may be suppression in appetite, like maybe muscle pain, neck spasms, backaches. I mean, I don't know, the list goes on, really. Because I think as women, we often hold a lot of pain, emotional pain in our gut, and in our shoulders and neck also. And I feel like if those are places that you're experiencing particular pain, or you have some illnesses around that, I mean, that can be like it's not normal, but it's all part of grief. And the more that we work on that and process it, and obviously seek medical attention or holistic care, or whatever your avenue is, to help support you with that while you are grieving and while you are trying to process. Because sometimes it can be so flippin' overwhelming to look at the list of what you need to do for yourself in order to function again in life. And I found that particularly hard in terms of, I have to sort out my migraines and my vertigo, and I have to go to the therapist because my head and my mental health and my grief, and I have to try and navigate the world and be around other dogs and potentially, manage triggering situations. I have to try and be professional at work. I have to try and be a good partner in the relationship, try to maintain my friendships. There was a long list equals putting pressure on myself. I'll just go right back to that again in case that's what you're thinking. And that is a lot. It's incredibly difficult to try and sit down and make peace with all of the things that you feel you need to work on for yourself in order to function in this world after your pet has died. And it's so underestimated, the amount that we have to do to try and do that. And I am with you. I see you, I hear you, your messages when you tell me about what you're going through and everything. It's just heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to every single one of you that listen to all of these episodes to try and gain some support or comfort, or just plain old validation for what you're feeling. And I just want to give you all a massive hug, really, because whether you're a hugger or not, I am, but a hug always makes me feel so comforted, so loved, so cared about, especially one of those long, melty hugs that can happen. That I ask for quite a lot, but those are like from somebody that you have like a really good connection with and relationship with. One of those kinds of hugs can even dissipate and melt some of that horrific, painful grief away. So I wish that I could stay in those hugs all day long when I'm having a really bad day. And even for you, if you're having like particularly low day and the grief wave is bashing you around the place and you're just constantly on it, just go towards those hugs, go towards the things that help you to feel a little bit more calm, at peace in yourself, whether that's nature, whether that's a hug, whether that's putting on essential oils, whether that's a long soak in the bath, reading a book, whatever that is whatever it looks like for you, grant yourself that time. Whatever your long list of to-dos are, that can wait, and even your long list of to-dos for your own mental health or your own physical health. Right now, today, just do one thing for yourself. One thing that you know will help you, whether that's a bath, a walk. Ask for a melty hug, and I love melty hugs. Have a long Zoom call or phone call with your bestie. I don't know, do something to fill that heart up, because you deserve that. You're going through so much pain right now, and it's okay to want to try and soothe that. And if today isn't the day that you want to talk about your feelings, and sometimes we just don't, and I know I'm an advocate for always doing that as much as possible, and journaling, and if today is a day that you can't journal, that you just can't bear to go and ring someone to talk about your feelings, and well, then do something that you know has helped you to feel relaxed and chilled in the past, really, to try and do that. Anyway, I have definitely kept you long enough. We're going over half an hour, which is unusual for me, but I feel that I had a lot to say this week, and thank you for listening as always. A little update about this podcast. The Pet Loss Journals podcast will now be releasing bi-weekly episodes, and the reason for that is basically I'm very busy, busy with clients, busy, and what's going to happen really is that every second week I'll release an episode here in the Pet Loss Journals podcast, and then the Patreon episodes will be bi-weekly also. So you'll be listening to this today, and then next Friday there'll be a new episode released on the Patreon account, and that is linked in the show notes for you to catch those interesting episodes. They're more deeper dive episodes going into specific topics. So this is all about my journal entries, and the Patreon is more kind of advice, support, specified topics, and so on. And of course, those monthly group Zoom calls also included. But head on over to Patreon if you do love this podcast. Supporting it by becoming a Patreon member is going to help to keep this going and keep me recording these, because it takes a lot of time, and I love putting the work in, and I love like getting to know everybody over on Patreon as well a little bit more, which is amazing. So thank you for listening this week. Take care. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this week's episode. Remember, your pet loss grief is real, and it is so valid. Please be gentle on yourself. Until next time, take care.